The sun had barely risen when Ethan arrived at the office, his reflection glowing faintly in the glass walls of Anderson Industries. He moved through the quiet hallways with his usual calm steps, but inside his chest, emotions swirled like a storm. The note Amelia had left, "I know who you are now, and I'm sorry," lingered in his mind, carrying both pain and peace. He had spent the night replaying everything, the quiet notes they exchanged, the conversations, the laughter, the rediscovery of purpose. It all came down to this: the woman who unknowingly crushed his past had been the same one who helped him rebuild his heart. He didn't resent her. In truth, he felt gratitude. Because sometimes life takes away what we think we need to give us what we truly deserve. As he cleaned the break room, his eyes fell once again on the sleek coffee machine, the silent witness to their story. He smiled faintly. It had started as a simple note, a whisper of loneliness, but it had turned into something far more powerful, two souls healing each other from opposite sides of the corporate ladder. When Amelia walked in that morning, she looked different. Not the powerful billionaire CEO everyone feared, but a woman stripped of her armor, carrying sincerity in her eyes. She stopped a few steps away and whispered, "Ethan, I owe you an apology. I found your record last night. I didn't realize that it was my company that took away your business years ago." Ethan straightened, his mop still in hand, and smiled. "You don't owe me anything, Amelia. What's done is done. Maybe this was how it was supposed to be." She frowned. "How can you forgive so easily?" He looked at her with calm eyes. "Because holding onto anger doesn't build anything. Forgiveness does." Amelia lowered her gaze, her throat tightening. "I don't deserve that forgiveness." "Maybe not," Ethan said softly. "But that's what makes it real." There was a pause, heavy, sincere, human. For a brief second, they weren't CEO and janitor. They were just two broken people trying to find light in each other's darkness. Amelia stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Ethan, I want to make things right. You have ideas, heart, and vision. You're wasted as a janitor here. I want you to work with me, not for me. I want you to help rebuild the culture of this company." Ethan stared at her, speechless. He had never expected an offer like that. "You mean me? Working beside the CEO?" Amelia smiled, a soft glimmer lighting her eyes. "No, working with the CEO. You've already been teaching me more than any business school ever did." The next few months became a whirlwind of transformation. The once gold skyscraper that represented corporate hierarchy slowly warmed with humanity. Ethan was promoted to Employee Development Advisor, a title Amelia insisted on giving him herself. His role wasn't about management. It was about connection. He created programs to help employees find meaning in their work, encouraged kindness over competition, and introduced a coffee note wall where anyone could anonymously share thoughts, gratitude, or inspiration, an idea born from his own story. Every week, the wall grew thicker with handwritten messages from interns to executives, proving that empathy could thrive even in the hardest places. The change didn't just transform the company, it transformed Amelia. She began listening more, laughing often, and learning what it meant to truly lead with heart. Gone was the icy perfectionist CEO who hid behind her title. In her place stood a woman with compassion, one who finally saw people as more than numbers on a chart. Investors noticed the shift too. Productivity soared, and employee satisfaction hit record highs. The company didn't just make profits now, it made purpose. But success didn't come without whispers. Many outsiders questioned Amelia's decisions. She's gone soft, some said. A janitor advising the CEO. That's absurd. Yet, Amelia didn't flinch. At a major press conference, when a journalist asked her if it was true that she took advice from a janitor, Amelia smiled confidently and replied, "Yes, I do. Because wisdom doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it carries a mop." The room went silent, then erupted in applause. Ethan, watching from the back, felt tears sting his eyes. After the conference, Amelia found him near the coffee machine, the same spot where it had all begun. "I think we started something bigger than ourselves," she said quietly. Ethan nodded. "Maybe we did, but it's not about us anymore. It's about everyone who realizes they matter, no matter their title." Amelia smiled. "You always have the right words." He chuckled softly. "Guess that's what happens when life humbles you enough to listen." As the months passed, their friendship deepened into something unspoken, not romantic in the ordinary sense, but deeply spiritual. They shared an unbreakable respect, a connection born not of attraction, but of understanding. Yet, beneath that bond, there was warmth, an affection that neither dared to define. They didn't need to. Sometimes, souls recognize each other not through love, but through gratitude. One evening, Amelia asked Ethan to join her in the boardroom after hours. The room was empty, the city lights glowing through the glass behind her. On the table was a folder. "What's this?" he asked. She smiled. "A project I've been working on in secret. I'm starting a new division, the Humanity Project. I want it to focus on mental health, employee growth, and personal development in workplaces. And I want you to lead it." Ethan blinked, speechless. "Amelia, I don't know if I'm qualified for that." She stepped closer, her voice steady but gentle. "You're more qualified than anyone I've ever met. You lived it. You rebuilt yourself from nothing. You gave me purpose. Now, I want you to help others find theirs." Ethan felt his throat tighten. After years of being invisible, someone finally saw him. He nodded slowly, tears glimmering in his eyes. "I'll do it, not for me, but for everyone who feels unseen." Amelia reached out her hand. "Then, let's make the world see them." They shook hands, a moment that sealed not just a partnership, but a promise. Word of the Humanity Project spread quickly. Media outlets praised it as revolutionary, a program born from a janitor's compassion and a billionaire's humility. Soon, companies around the world began adopting similar initiatives. Ethan became a speaker at conferences, sharing his journey. But every time he was asked how it all started, he would smile and say, "With a note behind a coffee machine." Years passed, and Anderson Industries became a global symbol of ethical leadership. Ethan grew older, his hair graying, but his eyes remained kind and youthful. Amelia often said he was the soul of the company, and she meant it. Yet, even after all their success, Ethan never left behind his janitor's uniform completely. He kept it folded neatly in his office drawer, a reminder of where he came from and how far he had traveled. One morning, long after the company had reached heights no one thought possible, Ethan came to the office early as always. The building was silent. He made himself a cup of coffee and sat near the machine, thinking of everything that had happened. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the very first note he had found years ago, now wrinkled and faded, but still legible. I wish someone saw me for who I really am, not just for what I own. He smiled softly. I think someone finally did, he whispered. As he stood to leave, he noticed a fresh piece of paper tucked behind the machine. His heart skipped. He unfolded it and read, "Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Amelia." His eyes welled up, a smile spreading across his face. Life had come full circle. He placed the note back where it belonged and whispered, "We both found what we were looking for." That evening, Amelia called for a company-wide meeting. Thousands of employees filled the auditorium, the energy electric. She walked onto the stage and said, "Years ago, this company was built on ambition. Today, it stands on compassion. And it all began because one man reminded me that success without empathy is failure in disguise." She turned to the crowd, her eyes searching for Ethan, who sat humbly in the front row. "Ethan Cole, will you please join me?" The entire room erupted in applause as he stood, shy but proud. Amelia handed him a plaque engraved with words that silenced the crowd. "To Ethan Cole, the man who taught us that greatness begins with kindness." Ethan looked around, overwhelmed. "I don't deserve this," he said softly. Amelia smiled. "That's exactly why you do." As the audience cheered, Ethan took the microphone and spoke from the heart. "I was once a janitor. I cleaned floors, emptied trash, and watched people chase success without seeing the people beside them. But today, I realize something. It's not your job title that defines you. It's your purpose, your kindness, and the way you make others feel. Never underestimate your worth. Never stop believing that small acts can create big change." He paused, scanning the crowd, his voice breaking slightly. "If you're listening to this, wherever you are, remember you are seen, you are valued, and you are enough." The crowd rose in a standing ovation. Cameras flashed, employees cried, and for the first time in the company's history, everyone felt united, not by profit, but by humanity. Amelia stepped forward and whispered near the mic, "And if you've been inspired by Ethan's journey, remember to share this story, subscribe for more, and keep believing that kindness can change everything." As the lights dimmed and the applause echoed, Ethan stood by the coffee machine one last time, running his fingers along its edge. He smiled at the thought of that first note. How a single act of curiosity, a simple human connection, had rewritten destinies. He placed his hand on his heart, whispered a quiet thank you to life, and walked out of the room not as a janitor, not as a businessman, but as a symbol of hope. Because because in the end, it wasn't the coffee machine or the notes that changed their lives. It was what they represented, the reminder that behind every face, every uniform, every title, there is a story waiting to be seen. And sometimes, all it takes is one note,